Welcome back to Arguing Semantics. Once again, coming to you from in the field. Still working a lot, but also I've been seeing a lot. So it makes more sense for me to do one of these more rambly videos again. Actually, I think I'm going to split this into two because we have been seeing a lot of movies in the last couple of weeks. So we've really hit the ground running on spooky season. So we'll get going on that. And to start things off, the first big thing we saw was Barbarian. Barbarian is excellent. I really enjoyed it. The less you know about this movie, the better. That's what I will say. So, skip ahead a couple minutes. I'm not going to get into spoilers or anything, but the less you know, the better. Go see Barbarian. I highly recommend it right away. That being said, there is a lot to like in the movie. It is definitely one of those movies where it starts off feeling like it's going to be doing one thing and then it switches to something else very quickly in a way that is jarring but still satisfying. And beyond that, it is just impeccably well made. It's scary without relying on jump scares too much, which I personally don't have a big problem with jump scares, which I'll get into one of the other movies I've seen lately. But just in general, it's well made. It has something to say without beating you over the head with it. It is constantly surprising. It is just very, very fun. Go see it if you like some of this movies. If there is one thing I have to say is sometimes the tone gets a little bit muddled. It does have a strong comedic streak, which mostly works, but also it goes a little bit over the top and off the rails in the second half of the movie. Just know that, or in the ending of the movie. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed that one. Go see Barbarian. The other one that I have a big ol' recommendation for is Pearl. Pearl is the prequel to the film X, which came out, I believe it was last year, around the same time. X, which is also good, but X was an interesting movie. It was kind of doing a slasher film while making statements about, the adult film industry and sex work. So in the backdrop of a bunch of people going out to basically film porn on a farm in the 70s. Very, very good movie in and of itself. Not amazing though, just like a good kind of elevated horror slasher. But Pearl takes that kind of same feel. It definitely has some rhyming in its themes with the previous film as well, and kind of puts that onto a really, really interesting character study of a person who is mildly sociopathic and believes she is meant for more than what she has, and the toll that can take on a person, especially if you're living in a very, very small town and you're kind of cut off from society in many ways. But great performances all around. Her cousin's the only one that kind of felt like the performance wasn't totally there, but she does what she needs to be, and she fits into the role that she is given very, very well. Everybody plays their parts well. The violence, when it occurs, is equal parts shocking and fun at the same time. It does tell its story very well. Highly recommend Pearl, especially if you've seen X. If you haven't, you don't need to see X first, but it's definitely wouldn't be the worst idea to do so. Then the next movie on the list was all right, one of the rare edits in one of these videos I'm gonna have to put in here because I totally forgot what I was talking about next. The next thing to talk about is The Invitation. The Invitation was fun. It was fine for what it was. It wasn't amazing, and it's another, like many of the ones on this list, which kind of went off the rails in the final act, just like Barbarian. But whereas Barbarian was fun, this kind of took me completely out of the movie in the first act. Basically, for those who aren't aware, The Invitation follows a young woman, specifically a black young woman, who is found through an ancestry type site that she has relatives in England. And then she then is invited to go out to this wedding where a bunch of the family are basically going to be reuniting. And as soon as she gets out there, things start seeming off, though she strikes up a bit of a relationship with the Duke who owns the property, and things go crazier and crazier from there. Overall, it was, like I said, it was a fun movie. It does do some fun things with its subject matter, although the biggest thing is it's revealed pretty quickly, because I'm just going to go into spoilers, skip ahead a little bit if you don't want to hear it, but it's revealed pretty quickly that she is the one who is getting married. Most of what she's been said is a lie, and that the Duke is actually, or I think it's the Duke, the Count, whatever, is Dracula himself, and that she is going to be the third bride who, traditionally in the books, he has 3 women who are his brides, and they're all from these different major families, and there hasn't been a woman in one particular family for a long time, and it's created issues amongst the groups and their various businesses and such. So she is being taken in, and that twist was overall pretty solid, but then where they go with it from there gets dumber and dumber as it goes along, because like they bring in Jonathan and Mina Harker, but they're now part of the group and they're bad guys, which completely flies in the face of what the story was. So it was like, why are these characters? There are other better characters that this would make sense with. It just kind of felt weird how that all played out. It does set up the ending, and then the ending, just like most of the movie, is kind of creepy and slow in a good way, and then the ending just goes completely overboard with some really, really bad fight scenes and bits of the ending that just don't make much sense. Some really terrible acting. It didn't stick the landing. Like, there were some really great sequences early on that were, creepy and weird, but there was one too many points where it was like, there's something wrong. Just nope, out of there. Just, why are you still here? Your decisions make no sense. But yeah, so The Invitation, it's worth a watch, if you've got nothing else better to watch, but it really missed the mark in a way that was kind of disappointing. So it ended up going from fun campy to just dumb campy at the end. It's just not worth not something you need to go out of your way for, but still fun. The next one I'm going to talk about is Don't Worry, Darling, another thriller that has a lot of drama behind it, so has been getting a little bit of a press based on just that, and got a bit of a bump, in its viewership because of that. And overall, it was fine. The things it does well, it does really well. There are some really, really good creepy moments, some aspects of it where they're playing with the idea that something is wrong and her mental state is deteriorating, and how they choose to portray that both cinematically and in the music is actually really, really good. Like, I'm curious to see what Olivia Wilde will do with a better script than this. I feel like it was well directed, although some of the drama behind the scenes would say that maybe that wasn't Olivia Wilde's direction that made the movie, but who knows? I'm not one to speculate based on that. Overall, the performances are really great. Literally the only person that stands out is Harry Styles. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't good either. He was very mediocre for this role. He wasn't well suited to it. He has moments where it's like, okay, I could see you becoming a good actor eventually, but you should not have gotten this big of a part this quickly. It just, yeah, he was definitely a standout. Other than that, everybody else is great. It's just that the script gets confusing by the end, and when the twist happens, you kind of assume it's going to be something along the lines of what the twist actually is, but that creates a whole bunch of logistical problems and other things that, if you think about it for more than 5 minutes, it's like, how would this have even worked? That sort of a situation. So it's an intriguing movie, but it's another one where it's like, I don't think it's as bad as some people are making it out to be. It definitely isn't a good movie. It's very just okay. Like, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it that much either, because as soon as you think about it, you just, your nose starts to bleed. But it was fun. It had some good moments. It had some good the technicals were there. It just the script and the pacing were not. It also started introducing the conflict too early. It felt like I didn't get enough time to sit with the characters. But yeah, don't worry, darling. No need to go out of your way for it. Yeah. And then after that, we saw Smile. Smile was the most recent thing we saw. And I kind of had high hopes for this one. And I was a little bit disappointed. It's another one where it wasn't bad. It's still totally worth watching if you want a good scary experience. It overly relies on jump scares. Some of those jump scares are incredible, though. They are really well handled. They really did a good job of just ratcheting that tension and having it sit, and then something scary happens that catches you. It generally catches you by surprise. It's not just because of the music stab. It's because something happens that you are genuinely not expecting, but totally makes sense in the scene still. In that sense, it's good. It also plays into the character and what she's going through, which is, a woman meets a young woman who says she's being haunted by some kind of an entity that's always smiling at her, and then and then that woman kills herself in front of her, and then it starts to haunt her as well. And so it's her trying to figure out where this smile came from and how she can defeat it and all of that. And overall, it's a decent movie in and of itself. It's just that everything that I see in this movie, I've seen done better elsewhere. It doesn't feel like a movie where somebody really put a lot of thought and care into what the film was. It felt like they were just trying to hit a bunch of boxes. Like there were a bunch of scares where it's like, you literally just took that out of Hereditary. You took that out of Insidious. You took that out of Sinister. That type of a thing where it's like it just didn't totally come together for me. There are some amazing moments in there that were genuinely unique. The ending was bizarre in a cool way. The actual the last couple of moments were good. I think it ended in a good place. The overall film, there were one too many moments, and it's like this woman is a psychologist who works with extreme cases, and she doesn't seem to be able to put together how her actions look from the outside or use her psychological abilities to create better outcomes for herself throughout the movie is my other big complaint. It's like, why make her a psychologist if her being a psychologist isn't going to come into play at all in the movie, other than to get her around other people who are crazy. Yeah, it just didn't totally come together. It's not a bad movie by any stretch. It's a totally serviceable horror film with some particularly unique moments that just ultimately felt a little flat for me. It's a soft recommendation. It's not a hard one. It's my big recommendations are still, as far as horror so far, are still Pearl and Barbarian. Although I do have one more movie to talk about, and the scariest movie of them all, Bros. Yeah, no. Although I'm sure for some people, Bros is a scary movie. For obvious reasons, but no, Bros is just an excellent romantic comedy. It's one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time. I literally was almost falling out of my chair laughing in the theater. It is so funny. The characters are great. They're nice and rounded. It's just very, very fun. Totally worth your time if you are into a romantic comedy. I feel like it kind of got buried in that it's a romantic comedy coming out by October. It just felt like a weird time to release it, but it's definitely worth your time if you don't want something as dour or scary as other stuff that's going to be coming out this month. Really worth your time. Seriously, I cannot recommend this enough. It was almost going to be in my top 3 favorite movies of the year. My 2 major complaints is one of the characters, the main love interest, kind of, his overall performance is fine, but his character isn't as well written and performed as it could have been, in that if he feels like he kind of gets dumber as the movie goes along, which the movie establishes pretty early on that he's a very smart and capable person, and he seems to get less so as the movie goes. That my other major complaint is that in the second half, the movie gets overly wrapped up in the tropes of romantic comedy, even though in the first half it kind of definitely swerves around them in how it addresses those tropes specifically from a gay perspective, which that is the biggest thing, is seeing a rom-com from a completely different perspective. It really does take time to delve into the unique circumstances that a gay relationship has over a straight one in this situation, and it is very fun. I really cannot recommend Bros enough. So to do a quick recap, let's see. So it was Barbarian, big thumbs up, definitely one to check out. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but it's definitely worth seeing, just because it is a fairly unique film in how it handles its story, at least in the modern day. Pearl, an excellent character study, definitely worth your time. I do recommend seeing X first, though you don't need to. It sounds like we're going to get another sequel to X coming up too, so from the same director, and I am very excited for that. And then The Invitation was just okay. It's mostly good, campy fun. It's worth a shot. It's got some good style in there. It just is kind of it doesn't stick the landing. The ending isn't great. Don't Worry Darling, also just okay. Very interesting stylistically, a lot of good performances, but also just doesn't, the ending, the twist doesn't really totally make sense. There's a lot of questions that come with that. That's just like, what is happening? Why are we doing this? Yeah, and then let's see, Smile. Smile was also, it's interesting. It's worth going to see if you want to see something scary in the theaters. You're definitely going to jump. It has a really, some twisted stuff happens at the end. That was pretty cool. Definitely worth a watch. Not great, but good. It's good. And then finally, Bros is amazing. Go see Bros. It's so much fun. Especially, it's like, because, with all of this, you got to sprinkle in some, fun, just, lighthearted stuff. It's an amazing palate cleanser if you're going to go see scary stuff, or otherwise just go see Bros. It's so good, and it definitely deserves to get more eyeballs on it than what it has so far. It's so much fun. But yeah, so that is my spooky movie ramble. We'll see if we go to see any other stuff. We do have some stuff we're going to go see relatively soon. We're going to go see Avatar this week. And then got a couple of other things that are coming soon. My big one that I'm really waiting for is The Menu. We've already got our tickets for Black Adam, and I'm really excited to see Wakanda Forever. I'm so curious as to what that movie is going to be. I'm not sure if it's going to be good, but those trailers so far have been like really well done trailers. So I'm really intrigued with how they're going to handle the storyline, especially post Chadwick Boseman, rest in power and all of that. He was such a good actor. So I'm curious to see how they're going to handle his legacy on these films. So yeah, that being said, my name is James, and this has been Arguing Semantics. Woo! Spooky! Woo!